I would get introduced to a Greek woman out in California. That's how I met the largest organized crime family that you've probably ever heard of. I'm all of a sudden now catapulted into this trafficking from California to Connecticut, Connecticut to Montreal. You go through the border too many times, you get flagged. And I was flagged. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, this isn't good. It's over.
After I have that first one, I'm no longer in control. I really wanted to quit. And then I would wake up the next morning and have no choice. I'd lost my identity and I didn't know who I was. I just had nothing left. And I needed help so bad. It all came down on me. And the police officers arrested me. I had hit rock bottom. I just knew I was gonna die. And I remember just praying that foxhole prayer, like, God, please just get me through this moment. I'll stop doing bad. I will stop everything. The goal of my podcast is to not only educate people on, mental health, but also let people know that they're not alone.
Rich, welcome.
Hey, thank you, man.
How was your drive over?
Oh, it was good, man. 90 miles.
It's not bad.
Connecticut's not much more than 90 miles long. So I pretty much spanned the whole thing, A scenic view of Route 84.
Would you do it in the AMG? An hour and a half?
Well, that car is a magnet for police, man. It is. So I put the self-driving on and just follow the guy in front of me.
Yeah.
If he gets, a little gassy a little bit, then, I follow.
Yeah. So, Rich, where are you from originally?
Yeah, I was born in Holyoke, Mass, which is just north of Springfield, Mass, if you're not familiar. I don't have any memories of Massachusetts. I was just born there. Connecticut, Eastern Connecticut. That's where I've been most of my life. I've moved around a lot, but my basic home is Eastern Connecticut.
Nice.
I live in the home I actually grew up in. I bought it several years ago. So that's kind of a cool thing, I raised my son in the very house I was raised by my grandparents. So the house has been in our family's name for 40-something years.
Through generations, that's awesome.
Well, yeah. My grandmother and grandfather bought it, and then they sold it and did the whole Florida thing like all grandparents do. And then years later, I bought it from the people who bought it from them. So it did change some titles once, but yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What was childhood like growing up?
Yeah, so the early years with my grandparents were great. I was removed from my parents I was removed from my mother at 6 months old. My mother was 17 when she had me. She had no condition for having a child. My father bailed out pretty quick. So I was raised by my father's paternal parents, mother and father, paternal father. And those years were great. That was like from my first memories to fourth grade. Then I got thrown back in with my mother. My grandfather had passed. My grandmother remarried. And, new husband was like, I kind of already have kids grown up and moved on. I don't know that I want to be taking care of a, 7-year-old. So actually at that time I was 8. So I went back to my mother. My mother's alcoholic. My father as well. So there was a lot of, that abuse stuff, But for the most part, till I was about 12, I lived with my mother, various locations. Then I did some foster home stuff. I did some military school stuff, court appointed, of course. But that's the sped up version. But part of what I'm writing about today, currently are these times that I'm speaking of today, because these were some very impactful times, and they were difficult, but they kind of give you perspective that nobody else can have. Nobody can have those personal experiences. Nobody can say, "Oh, yeah, that happened to me too." Similar, but not the same. And I think that's what makes my story kind of unique and different, because I come from a different background. I don't come from money. I don't come from a great family who's like, got the father right there and the mother supportive. Hey, how's your credit, your report card this year? How's school going? Basketball. So I was pretty shy and really didn't seek. I didn't seek guidance because there was none to be had. If that makes any sense, like.
So growing up, you didn't have a role model or anyone who you could really turn to.
Well, so my grandmother.
Okay.
So she is the angel in the story. She is the guiding light. But once I go back to live with my mother, she's only in my life in visits. She picked me up from school. I mean, and those were very important. She injected normalcy into a crazy scenario. I mean, it wasn't that she wanted to give me away. She lost her husband, my grandfather, and, people in that generation, you get married. Like, you get married, especially if you're a woman. You get married. You need a man around the house who's going to mow the lawn, who's going to fix the toilet. You know what I mean? So I understood that she needed to move on, but that also meant letting me go at 8 into a, pack of wolves scenario.
A toxic situation with your mother.
Yeah. I mean, mother, and then, boyfriends, and they were alcoholics too, and they were abusive, and they were, to her and me, she wasn't, she wasn't just an innocent bystander. She had to take some hits too,
Your grandmother gave you back up to your mother at 8 years old because she wanted to settle down, get married, and the guy she was planning on marrying said, I don't want to raise kids anymore.
100%.
What did that do to you from an acceptance standpoint?
Yeah, so, man, I just wrote about this stuff. Well, it makes you feel like your ally kind of is. I never felt abandoned by her, but I did feel like, she put her husband before me. Now, look, I was 8 years old, so I couldn't understand or comprehend the idea of my grandmother being in her 50s, approaching 60 now, with no husband, a house. And, I wasn't considering those things. But, yeah, it was kind of like, why would you do that? And but, again, she injected herself enough to keep me from self-destructing completely. I mean, I was probably on the edge of that cliff all the time, and she was probably the only reason I didn't fucking fall over it.
She was still giving you love, but from a distance.
Yeah, I mean, telephone, and she'd pick me up from school as a kid sometimes, and instead of me taking the bus, she would just drive me home. And those 10, 15-minute car rides were little normalcy reminders. And, things are going to be okay. You're going to, I'm here. So in that respect, she was the one, when you say, but that was it. There was, my mother and father both rejected me for my entire life. Even when I would live with them, it was like I was like a nuisance, like, So, and I'm an only child on top of it. So, you go to school. I was a new kid 9 out of 12 years in school. So, I think when you're rejected by your family, you look for that permanence, like that permanent love. That's just, but you don't get that in friends. You don't get that in aunts or uncles because that's a mother-father permanent kind of love. So when you don't have that, you look for it. And every time you'd find a friend, I would move. Or I would find a friend, I would move. So, like, you build a relationship with somebody and you lean on them a little bit because they have a normal life. And then you move. So now they're gone. Now I'm in a new school. Now I got to find a new friend to lean on that has a normal life to watch and see and learn. And, this is what you do at dinner? You guys sit down together and talk? Oh, you're asking me about how my day was? What I'm up to? What the hell is that?
So you're making these new friends every single year, 9 out of 12 years that you were going to school.
Yeah.
So relationships in your head are short term, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I call it the quick bonding and quick uncoupling method. Like, that's what I've deemed it. That's what it is. I learn how to quickly bond with people, and then I learn how to quickly disconnect from them, and then start all over again, and then quickly bond and quickly disconnect. And, as a result of that, well, not as a result of that, but when I was 13, in the 8th grade, I was befriended by which is a really good friend of mine, Scott, and he was a coke dealer. He was 10 or 11 years older than me.
And you were 13.
I was 13.
Wow.
So he's 23, 24. He's in the prime of his, I don't even know in the beginning that he's a coke dealer. He's just a cool guy who owns a cleaning company, and he's hiring me part-time. My mother's dating a guy who used to be his roommate 6 doors down from us. Hey, Scott's looking for some help. So I start carpet cleaning with him. We're doing houses, we're doing businesses, we're doing, emptying garbage, doing window, doing all that whole thing, right? Well, this is the whole front for a coke business, but I don't know it. I'm 13, and I'm thinking this is the real deal. I'm like, well, Scott's got great cars, and he's got a cool motorcycle. He's got hot girlfriends all the time. He's let me stay at his house. Like, I'm like, this is the acceptance, right? This is the dude that says, Richie, you're cool. Hang out with us. And he's in his 20s, so he's cool. I'm not cool. You know what I mean? I'm 13, man. I'm in 8th grade. But I would find a kilo one day in the kitchen, on the kitchen table, in a bag, thinking there was food in there. I go in there, and there's a kilo in there. I don't even know what it is, bro. It's wrapped in tape and cellophane and, wrapped up. And, I'm like, is this some kind of ramen fucking noodle? I don't even know, man.
Did you open it all the way?
No, I didn't. No. So
got to the cellophane and stopped.
Yeah, no. Yeah, right. Take it out, get the knife out.
Yeah.
And you got any spoons? But no. As I was poking through there, oh, Richie, that's not for you. And that's how I kind of learned. He had a best friend that lived in Miami. Best friend would come up and hang out all the time, going back and forth. No, man, just friend from high school, man. And then I put it all together, right? And this is the 80s. So, this is Miami in the 80s. Money and drugs. The Miami Vice, man. Like, this is what it was.
All the best coke was coming from Miami.
All of it. So as a 13-year-old, I'm no longer really living at my mother's. I'm pretty much living with Scott. Just 6 doors down, but I'm living with Scott. I mean, I'm crashing at his house all the time. And no one's asking me, by the way, hey, where's Richie? I mean, I'm in 8th grade. I can take care of myself. So I lived with him for like a year. And I was exposed to all that, dealing. And, once I knew what was going on, then he brought me in. Like, I know this sounds horrible, like this guy's a fucking piece of shit. He wasn't. If it makes any sense, what I did with him was better than my options that I had at home. It's easier to explain that, when I have 16 hours.
Well, it sounds like he was that role model.
Yeah.
He became, look, your grandmother was always there, right? But then that relationship became a relationship from a distance. And
Yeah.
she was part-time in your life. And then, this guy was 6 doors down, very close to home. And then it's funny, my last guest, we were talking about, rap music, movies glorifying, Goodfellas glorifying the life, right? Organized crime, shiny things. And you talked about this guy having those things, getting women. He was cool. And that's
cool.
what you wanted to, he had what you wanted. And he became that role model for you.
Yeah. And I have to say, he was a real big brother to me. Okay. He didn't just take me along and throw me in the back seat and, hey, come on, Richie. He taught me things. He showed me things. Again, these are stories that are kind of, glorification story. But I would sit in hotels with him and his friend from Miami, and we would break out a kilo and weighing it all. I'm not touching the stuff. Okay, let's just get this there. I'm in the room. I'm watching this happen. My role was to get rubber bands ready and to count money
Yeah.
because I've always been a counter. It's something that I do. I've always just done that.
You were managing the situation.
I mean, I was 13, dude. You know, like, dude, I'm in 8th grade. Like, you know, what were my buddies doing on a Saturday night in 8th grade? I was at a Holiday Inn watching cocaine get fucking bagged up and delivered and people meeting us. So we would go to hotels to do business, right? So that's why we're at a hotel. Because, you know, you don't have people at your house when you're dealing those kind of things. You know, you don't bring people to your house. Like, that's the fucking rule number one. So you take the expense hit, you rent a hotel room, and you do your business through there for a couple hours. You just make all your meetings happen at that time. So that's what was happening in the background. My mother was getting wasted during my 8th grade graduation. She chose not to go to my graduation, and I wasn't going to go either. I figured, fuck it. You know. But Scott took me to his house and said, Richie, you're going to your graduation. Get in the fucking car. Forget her. And he brought me into his closet, and he goes, fucking pick out any. And he had cool clothes. Like this was like, you know, I explained in the story, I'm like, none of my friends were dressing like Scott. Scott was 10 years older than us. You know, I'm in Adidas and Nike shorts, and he's wearing like some nice collar shirt, you know, right out of Scarface or right out of, you know, whatever genre of that time, you know, Miami Vice. So he's cool. And he lets me just go through his wardrobe and pick out whatever I want. And he brings me to the graduation, and he stands up and he cheers when I go across the stage. And that was huge for me, man. You know, like, that's when he sort of took the parental almost approach. Like, you know, that's not what, like, you know, I mean, you know, you and I can be friends, but, you know, I'm probably not going to your graduation. You know, like, we're friends. We're not like that in that way. But, you know, Scott was.
I mean, a friend is going to co-sign you not going. And be like, yo, let's go get fucked up.
I mean, exactly what's going to happen.
So he's a parental figure almost in the sense that, let's go, you're going to your graduation. I'm going to take you. And he's cheering for you. He's showing love.
Well, he did. And that was at a time when I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. So, you know, I would have been, if I had gone to my graduation, I would have ridden my bike there, and I would have gone alone, and I'd have walked across the stage, and it had been crickets. Like, I mean, okay, maybe a teacher's clap. You know, they're going to do that for the poor kids that got no family there. So I'm going to get the, yay, Richie. But I don't care about her, right? She's a demented old lady, man. You know what I mean? So I'm exposed to this life at 13. And, you know, all aspects of it. But he was very, like, don't get into this shit, Richie. Like, this is what I do. I do this to make money. This is, you know, he explained the whole thing to me. He explained the front cleaning business. He explained, you know, everything. I understood it. But he, you know, while showing it to me, also telling me don't do it. So I wouldn't listen. Years later, I would do the same thing. Like, step by step, just bigger.
Now, you see this. It's actions speak louder than words. He's telling you not to do it. He's doing it. Yeah. Do you eventually go into business with him?
No. He gets busted and goes to prison. So I see the whole picture.
You see the...
I see it. I was living with him when he just didn't come home one day. He got busted and just didn't come home. I was living with him. Like, I came home after school. Where's Scott? All right, whatever. Slept there, hung out. Next day, look, Scott, it wasn't crazy. Scott slept over some chick's house, right? So I'm not freaking out. He didn't come home. Like, I'm not like his watcher. But then after like 3 days, then I called his father. And that's how I found out.
Ooh. So Richie goes to jail.
Scott goes to jail.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Scott.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, Scott goes to jail. I'm Richie. Little Richie.
So Scott goes to jail.
Yeah.
How do you get into the drug trade?
Oh, dude. I go scorched earth. Right then and there. I mean, I start stealing everything that's not nailed down and selling it in school. So I've graduated 8th grade now. I'm in high school now when he gets caught, by the way. So, the 8th year graduation story, boom, that happens. I'm living with him still. I'm in freshman year in high school. He gets popped about, I don't know, halfway through. freshman year, somewhere around there. And, you know, he was paying me to work for him. We were doing legit work. I mean, I wasn't getting any of his drug money. Like, I wasn't getting paid to come around and count money for him. It wasn't like, Richie, count this money. I'll give you $10. And it would have been cool. But so now I'm kind of forced to go back to my mother in that situation. And I just start stealing Walkmans, cassette tapes. I mean, again, we're talking mid-'80s. This is, you know, Walkmans were a big fucking deal in the mid-'80s, okay? There was, you know, they were like $60 back then, which was a lot of money. Okay, you can buy a Walkman now for like $8. I was stealing those like left and right out of this store local to here, and those is called Caldor.
I know Caldor.
Kind of like Imagine Kohl's today. Oh, yeah, okay, you know Caldor.
Of course, yeah.
Of course you do, yeah. I was hammering them. I mean, I was stealing probably 5 to 10 of them a week for, shit, I don't know, man, 6 months. I would even have friends come and help me steal because, you know, I figured, hey, if I can get 3 of them in my shirt and he gets 3, that's less trips I got to make. I'm going in, I'm hiding duffel bags in the woods. So I'm going in, I'm loading my shit up, I'm walking out, going out in the woods, stuffing it, and then going back in, stuffing my shirt again or my jacket back in. And I'm selling the stuff at school. And I guess psychologically, the way I can look at it now is I was looking to replace that activity that I was involved in with Scott. Like, you know, I was doing crazy stuff with him. Like, I was delivering coke, picking up money. I was counting money. That's crazy for a 13, 14-year-old.
It's an adrenaline rush.
And then it just stopped. And now my buddy's gone. He's in Virginia. Like, I mean, when he got busted, I never talked to him for 5 years. You know, because this is no cell phones, man. I'm moving so much. I don't have a home phone. He probably would have loved to have talked to me from jail. And I don't even know how to reach someone in jail. How do you call a jail? How do you do that? I'd like to Virginia, please. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, how do you even do that? So, yeah, man, I just start stealing everything. And I'm working at, you know, furniture stores. I'm stealing their stuff, and I'm selling it out the back door. And I get kicked out of school for that. I go to military school for some B&Es, some car theft stuff. Get out of military school, graduate high school, and then I'm introduced to a Jamaican in Hartford while delivering furniture. You know, a delivery truck, you know what I mean, going around 16 stops a day, humping furniture up 3rd floors in the ghetto. And nice houses, too. But I get introduced to a Jamaican who smoked a half ounce of weed a day in the truck. And by a day, I just mean a day of working, not even a full 24-hour day, just a day of working.
8-10 hours.
8-10 hours, a half an ounce. That's like 10 joints a day. Huge ones.
You got to try to smoke that much, yeah.
It's a job on top of the job. You know, and then it becomes how many joints can you smoke in a day? And then we're just, well, let's try. I mean, you know, and I don't do drugs and I don't drink. Throughout all my schooling in high school, I don't do that stuff because I've seen what it's done to my family, right? Everybody died of drugs and alcohol in my family, everybody, except for my grandmother. She didn't drink or smoke or do anything. So when you talk about people being positively influenced, that's what I got from her. I never touched that stuff, ever. I don't drink. I will have a beer with you. If you say, hey, let's go to the pub, Rich, and have a beer, sure, I can have a Bud Light or a Coors Light or whatever. I might even have a martini at a dinner. I might even have 6, but I don't do that very often. So I don't do drugs, and I don't even smoke weed till I'm 20. Even in high school, I was a jock. I was on the basketball team. I was not, like, I thought smokers were rats and dirtbags, and you know what I mean? I mean smokers like cigarettes. And if you smoke weed, you must have been into Pink Floyd or Grateful Dead, which was the arch enemy of heavy metal, which I was a heavy metal guy. I'm a Motley Crue, Poison. I'm a total cheesy 80s fucking Guns N' Roses guy, dude. Shut the fuck up. So I meet the Jamaican. I'm smoking my ass off now. And I start realizing that he gets weed really cheap. Now, of course, I have friends that smoke. Of course I do. And they buy weed. They buy quarters for $60 out here in the sticks. Kevin's getting whole ounces for $60 in the city. So I'm like, whoa, that's 4 times profit. That's how it started. I started buying, which to me at the time was so much weed, quarter pounds at a time. Oh my God, it was so much weed. It was like a pile like that big. You know, I would go on to move tractor trailers full of weed later, and completely, like, I couldn't even fit that in my house, let alone on my table anymore. Like, I remember the days of the quarter pound. Oh my God, something fell off. Oh my God, something fell on the floor. Look how much I have here. Yeah, I remember those days, man. Those were the Kevin days, Jamaican, right here in Hartford.
A Jamaican named Kevin.
Yeah.
That was the first red flag right there.
Yeah, Jamaican named Kevin. In all fairness, he went by the nickname of Smokey. So I called him Kev because I worked with him and I knew him as Kevin. Like, I met his mom. His mom did not call him Smokey. So, you know, while I referred to him as that, but that really wasn't what we called him. We knew him. He was Kev, you know. And he was like a big guy, too. Big guy, and he put stripes in his eyebrows and stripes in his beard.
Cuts in his eyebrows,
yeah.
So you're selling drugs now, getting weed from Kevin, the Jamaican. You're about 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
When does what does that look like? How big does the operation get? And when do you move on to bigger drugs?
So here's the crazy thing, man. I was slow and steady. So I don't really get big with Kevin. I buy pounds maximum from him. I start buying like a pound or two. I never bought 5, never bought 10. I was working. I was a working man. I was a regular guy working. Okay, I got a full-time girlfriend. You know, my wife and I got together when I graduated high school. We're still together today. So through everything you're going to hear, my wife's been there, with the exception of my childhood. So I have a long lull of where I'm just sort of selling a little bit of weed. So I don't get into the big game till my mid-30s. I go through my whole 20s. I don't even have my son till I'm 32. I don't get in the game heavy till I'm about 34, which is kind of usually not the story. The story is sort of you get into it in your 20s, then you blow up and you fucking explode by 30s.
You're out of jail by 35.
Right. I just got in the game at 30. Now, I mean, the real game. Like what I was doing with Kevin was no game. I could have done that forever. Forever. And nobody would have ever seen. I could have bought pounds a week and it would have never even come up on the radar. But, 1 pound, 10 pounds. You buy 20, you save this. Now it's 20. And then it got to a point, to answer your question, where I just reached a plateau of pricing. I was never going to get below $1,000 a pound around here. So my profit was limited to what I was paying. And at this point now, I'm saying to myself, if I just travel a little bit, and I'm in transport, I've been in transport my whole life. I'm a logistical genius, and I'm not trying to look, I don't talk about brain surgery or rocket science in this show, but I do talk about logistical soundness, and that's me. I was able to merge my logistical abilities with wanting to get weed out of different parts of the country, cheaper. Houston only happens because I happen to know a black driver who works for me whose brother lives there. And he says his neighbor sells weight. It's like that's how it happens. I wasn't looking at Houston, hey, let me call some people in Houston. I mean, I don't know anybody in Houston. Guess what? I'm from Connecticut. So that's how it starts. I start looking to get that $1,000 a pound down to like $300, $400, $500. Because now I'm going to blow it open. Now I might even be able to not work someday.
8 times profit instead of 4 or 5 times profit. Yeah, I get it.
But having to travel further, which of course adds thousands of new risks. But when you're a logistics guy, it just became moving that thing from there to there. Whether it be a car or a truckload of furniture, it's just got to get from here to there. And how do you do that? It seems simple enough, but actually to work it out, it's not so simple. You've got things, you've got weigh scales, you've got DOT checks. What do they check for in a DOT stop? How do you know? Well, I know because I was trained by the DOT. I went to classes with them and for them. Like, this is what my whole career was. I went from driver all the way up to auto transport driver, and then all the way up to dispatcher, then all the way up to manager, then all the way up into corporate. So I've done everything you can do in transport. And I only say this to just let you know that this is how the whole thing starts. I take my knowledge of transport, my ability to sell weed, and put those two together. And, you know, now I got trucking, I got money, and I got to connect in Houston.
So you do this through your 20s into your 30s.
Well, my 30s starts Houston. I do in my 20s is just Kev. And then various other guys after Kev, but never got big here. I mean, well, time out. I consider it not big. I was buying about 10 or 20 pounds a week, which to some people that sounds big.
That's big.
Okay, I guess that's big.
You went really big in your 30s.
Yes, I went into thousands of pounds. So to me, 20 isn't big. You have to understand my perspective. And I'm not trying to brag, and I'm not trying to say, oh my God, I'm the biggest, best. No, I'm just telling you what it was. To me, 20 wasn't a lot. But I remember the days of a quarter pound, like I just explained to you. I mean, I came from that. I didn't show up and buy 100 pounds. I bought 100 pounds over a 10-year period. Then I'd buy it in a week. Like, that's how fast it went. So Houston, I didn't have trucking yet. I actually infiltrated a trucking company that my driver was now working for, who was out of Houston. This is how the Houston thing starts. I get my driver to put the bug into the owner of this company's ear that he knows a dispatcher who's godlike. Not my words, but I'll use them. Who's really good at what he does, and he plays, you know, he builds me up. Now, we have a plan. He knows what we're doing. Hey, Steve, get me into that dude's company.
Manipulating the situation.
Let me dispatch you. And the guy has 2 trucks, so I got to dispatch both guys, but only one guy is my guy. The other guy just gets dispatched like I normally would. Hey, go here, go there, do whatever. My guy's going from fucking Houston to Connecticut all the time. Like, that's what I'm making him do. But I got to get this guy to hire me. So I fly to Houston. I meet with the guy. I blow his doors off. He was in a real paperwork issue with International Fuel Tax Agreement. He was several quarters behind. He was about to get his DOT pulled. So I pulled him out of that, saved his ass, and he gave me the job. And I'm dispatching from Connecticut. Like, I'm not coming to Houston. I'm not fucking flying down here to fucking work for you. What's the matter? What room I'm sitting in? So he buys the whole thing. And I start working that way, using his trucks. We're hauling cars. We're hauling enclosed car carriers. These are mostly high-end vehicles. Enclosed meaning that it's not an open carrier where you see the truck going down the road. Hey, look at all the cars. These are enclosed. You don't see them. It's to keep the road grime off, so on and so forth. So it's also a perfect cover. I mean, hauling cars is probably the best way to smuggle drugs and money. Refrigerated freight's pretty good, too, and I did that. That's pretty good, too, because you like the freezer stuff. You like cold. It eliminates smells, and, you know, who wants to be it's cold in there. But Houston is what blew it open. My first purchase in Houston was 60 pounds. I had never bought 60 pounds in one shot, ever. What I would buy, it would cost me $34,000, $36,000 in Connecticut to buy 36 pounds. Down there, I got 60 for the same money. So all I got to do is get it home.
What is that, like $575 or something?
Those I was paying $600 for those because I had 2 middlemen.
Yeah, $600.
And they were each taking $100 a piece. I would eventually bypass them, but on this trip, for the sake of this discussion, I'm paying $600 a pound. The actual price is $4. I find this out later because people love to talk, and they should never talk around me because I don't forget anything. So we go down, and I'm in North Houston. I'm in the ghetto. And I mean, man, dude, so I remember this, man, like it was yesterday. I pull into the
What
project.
year is this?
Okay, this is 2006.
Okay, so 2006. Go ahead.
We just time jumped like a motherfucker.
Yeah. I just want to give the audience a time.
There's no
frame.
need
Yep.
to keep going over the couple pounds I sold, right? You know, the couple 20 or 500, whatever. No, so I'm in Houston now. I haven't met. I'm meeting my buddy's brother, who's not in the game. His neighbor is. So, you know, I pull in, and there's already a gate. I got to have a code to get in. It's you know, the projects kind of look a little bit like prisons. I'm not. I mean, look, I have a lot of friends. And Kevin was in the projects, and I did all my dealings in North Hartford. I'm not ragging on it. I'm just speaking about what it looks like. It looks like the kind of security like a prison would have, and then it's sort of built the same way, and it's all black people living in there. So I pull into my Mustang, park the car, get out, looking like this. And there's like kids playing basketball, man, running around. Yeah, and everyone talking. I get out of the car, walk across the parking lot. The fucking place goes silent. Balls stop dropping. People are like staring at me. And I'm like, fuck, I'm a narc. You know what I mean? Oh, you're all busted. And then my friend Clarence comes out. Richie, oh, good to see you. Come on in. You know, and everyone's like, oh, okay. He's
Sigh of relief.
Yeah, and everyone starts to go back to talking, man, hanging their clothes in the laundry again. And the kids are playing. It was kind of funny. So, blah, blah, blah. I hang out with him for a little bit. He introduces me to Gold Tooth Johnny. Gold Tooth Johnny is the connect who knows the Mexicans. And he wants to take me in his car because his mentality is, I don't want to drive with you, Rich, because if a white man is driving a black man around in Houston, they think you're a cop and I'm narking on everybody. I'm like, okay. But if I drive you around in my car, it's cool. Because no white cop would ever let a black guy drive him around. That's what he says, man. I swear to God. So I say, oh, you know, when in Rome, right? You know your city better than I do. I'm from the Connecticut, bro. We're in North Houston, 99 degrees at midnight. I have no idea what this is about. So we get in his car. I walk around. And I go to open my door. He's got fucking bullet holes in his Cadillac. He got like a pearl Cadillac with the rims, the whole thing, you know. And I'm like,
he's got bullet holes in his Cadillac.
Yeah. So, I mean, Richie, you got to come with me because it's safer. So as I'm opening the door, I'm like, dude, a little AC going on over here? What's going on? He goes, well, me and this guy got into it at a red light. Believe me, he got some bullet holes in his car too. So this is what's happening. So I get in the car and I'm like, all right, look, again, I'm in Rome. I do what they do. Driving around, you know, we go pick up his cousin. We're gonna go to his cousin's house, but we actually pick him up at a gas station. It's like it's a whole fucking weird, like, secretive. The very first place they take me to is this cartel house, which is, I mean, this is what it is, okay? I mean, look, there's Mexicans that live everywhere. Not every Mexican's in the cartel, but the ones that sell drugs are usually, you know what I'm saying? We pull in, and we go through, the whole yard is gated. Not a fancy gate, just a chain link fence. But there's a little gate to drive through, and when we pull in, there's a car to our right, a car to our left, and a car in front of us. We pull in, and a car behind us pulls in and blocks us in. So I don't love that right off the bat. I don't love that. Like, they know white guy from Northeast is coming down to buy. Like, I'm not knocking on their door like they don't know we're coming. I suppose for them it was probably a safety thing, but the cousin who's friends with the Mexicans, he goes in and he starts the negotiation process while I wait in the car. He then comes back out, hey, everything's fine, come on in now. I walk in, and let me just tell you, like, so this is like the typical Houston property, dirt yard, pit bulls fucking tied to every fucking tree. Cameras and lights all over the place. It's daytime, so they're not on. You know, lights aren't on, but I can see them all. They're up on posts, hanging off of trees, the whole thing. And it's like a little house. It's like a little one family, you know, fucking what I call cookie cutters. You know what I mean? It's a fucking 100 of them. They all look the same. And I go in the house to look at the weed, and I walk in, and there's like 10 or 12 Mexican men standing in a kitchen area about the size of this room. So put 10 or 12 people in here. It's a little cramped. There's people, there's stuff going on. There's a big brick of weed on the counter. And I'm happy. I'm like, sweet. I'm going to fucking buy all my weed right now. I've only been in town for like an hour. I'm already sitting in a dude's house looking at pounds. So this is great. But I break the bags open and fucking seeds come pouring out. And it's just like, I can't buy this. And like when I walk in with my pockets bulging with cash, by the way, everybody's smiling. Like, you know, just, hey, man, yeah, what's up, bro? And then I'm like, I ain't buying it. It's got too many seeds, man. I can't do this. I can't bring this home. Now it's like, I'm not taking it. And I'm in their house. Off in another room, there's a table that I can see with 4 or 5 women sitting at it, and they're just doing their thing in there. You know, I can't hear them, but I can see them. I mean, I can see it. It's an open concept, you know. And as I'm kind of telling the group of people in the room. Hey, man, just switch your stuff out, man. Can you go and, return it or, bring me something else? I'm happy to wait, or I'll come back later. Like, I'm trying not to get robbed. Like, they motion for the girls to get out while I'm in my little spiel about, hey, just change things up, man. And I noticed this, and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, this isn't good. I know if I ever were to tell my wife to get out of the room, it's because shit's about to go down, right? Like, I mean, I can put myself in that situation and imagine what that must be like. So now I'm like in like panic mode. Well, yes, I am. Internally, I'm in panic mode. What can I do to not get robbed or killed or both? I start just talking. Hey, man, I want to come back here all the time. Every month, dude. I'll be back here every month. We'll make so much money. One guy brushes up against me. And I know he does this because my pockets are bulging. I have 36 grand in cash in my pockets. And yes, it does fit. My God, you don't know how many people have commented on, there's no way you had 36 grand in his pocket. It doesn't fit. That guy never had 36 grand in his pocket. Whoever said that, by the way, it does fucking fit. So I always have to address that. But that's an important part of the gig because my pockets are bulging. This guy's coming over to kind of, I know what he's doing. So I won't turn my back to these people. I just start slowly backing towards the door. Now, Johnny's behind me, go-to Johnny, and Cousin's still in the house. Go-to Johnny's packing. I don't even know it. I don't know it. Of course, I should have assumed it. He got bullet holes in his car. But I'm thinking, he didn't tell me he's going to walk in there with a gun to have my back. He didn't tell me this. And I only find out later he's packing, by the way. I don't know at this moment. So he starts backing out the door as I'm backing out the door because he has to get out of my way. And as I'm doing this, the cousin comes out, and I'm turning around to go walk to the car, and I'm literally, dude, I'm not kidding you. I'm imagining where I can run. Like, there's a train track that their property abuts over, and I'm thinking, maybe I can make it to the track and jump over. Maybe, if they shoot at me, I'll just zigzag back and forth. Dude, it was all going through, okay? All that stuff is happening like this. I'm thinking I'm going to get, like, there's no way they're going to let me out of here. Why would they? They don't have to. I'm down here. Whatever. These are all going through my head. I make it to the car. I get in the car. I'm starting to feel like I might live. I mean, why would they wait for me to get into my car to kill me? They would have already done it in the house or while I'm walking away from them. So this, then Johnny comes in the car, the cousin gets in the car, and the guy backs out, unblocks us. And I'm like, all right, man, all right. I'm going to live. I'm really outside. I'm trying to look as cool as possible to Johnny and his cousin and Clarence. I'm trying to act like this happens to me all the time. What do you mean? You've never been chased out of a cartel's house before, you loser? But meanwhile, I haven't. You know what I mean? Like, I have not. So the whole time, again, I'm telling these guys, just call me later, man. Call me. I'll come back, We pull out of there, and Cousin's like, so we're going to come back later? I'm like, fuck no, come back later. Are you fucking high? Take me somewhere else, dude. So we end up going somewhere else. We hit this other guy up. He owns a body shop. I'll just tell you this part quick. I ended up having to, I don't like buying weed that I don't see. I mean, do you ever go into a department store and hand them your money first and then go and see what they have? Like, no one does that. Well, I had to do that night because I just got rattled over here a little bit. I mean, that was rattling. Like I'm thinking, if this is what it's like all the time, I'll just go back home, travel 30 miles, still double my money. What's wrong with that? So I end up giving money to one of the black guys I was with, and he goes in and makes a purchase for me because I just need weed. And I just said, look, you just saw what I turned down. So don't bring out, you got to inspect it. You got to do, because these people won't let me in the house. You see, the next guy in the body shop, he won't let me in. The body shop is the front where they do all their weed business. Again, these are other Mexicans. They won't let me in. They'll be happy to let this guy in because they know him, but they won't let me in. So I have to resolve myself to saying, fuck it. I got to lose a little bit of the control. And I handed him the money, and it worked out great. Got my 60 pounds, fine and dandy, no problem. Got with my driver, Steve, dispatched him back to, I actually got a load right to Rhode Island, which was great. Got the weed back. And that was the first time that I'd ever had 60 pounds in one shot to distribute. And I would never look back from that moment. I never bought less than 60 pounds again for the rest of my life.
How was the weed?
It was good. It was decent. So this is Mexican Bricky, by the way. Now, I know what you're saying. It's 2006. You're still selling brickies? Yes. A lot of it, dude. My clientele was mostly older than me. Older guys don't go into the city looking for cheap weed. They don't. That's why I was telling you earlier, out in the sticks, you get $60 quarters. You just go 30 miles down to the city, you're getting $60 ounces. Most people don't go into the city. They don't have a connect like I did. So I was still killing it on Mexican brick weed. Like you throw it at somebody, you really hurt them. Like it's a real fucking brick. I mean, but no, the weed was good. And after that, I would bypass the two middlemen by just showing up. A couple times later, I went to another dealer and I hooked up another black guy who was really tight with the cartel, but I didn't have to meet with them. He did all the work. He went to the house. He got the weed, brought it to his house for me to look at. I could buy it, look at it in the same room. I could reject it, and no one's like, what, kill me over it. I just cold called him one day. See, I went to meet this guy with the cousin a few times later, and I remembered his address. I mean, I was at his house. I remembered his address, and about a month later, I came back and just flew into town unannounced because I didn't have his number. Of course, the middleman don't give up the phone number, but he had to give up the address because we had to go there to get the weed. You see, that's where he made the mistake. If they'd have just set things up down the road, 3 or 4 houses, I could have never jumped them. Jumped over them. So I jumped over those guys, went right to Shorty, knocked on his door one day. Yo, sorry to barge in like this, but I'm here. Is it cool if we bypass those guys? Yeah, dude, that's fucking cool. Fuck them guys. So then I was getting them for 400. So that was crazy.
How old are you at this point?
I am 34.
Okay. So you're 34. You're living in Connecticut, getting your weed from essentially the cartel.
Yeah.
And
100%. Yeah.
You're getting 60 to 100 pounds a week.
Per clip. No, not a week. At this point, when I first started, it's about a month.
Okay. So about 60 to 100 pounds a month.
Yep.
And then where does it go from there? Once the operation is up, you have, your trucking route, you're getting everything moved to Connecticut.
Yeah.
Where does it go from there?
I got introduced to California. I had a friend I was roommates with here in Connecticut who went to the military in San Diego. When, we all graduated high school, I went my way. He went into the military. Got stationed out there, lived out there. We're still communicating over the few years. Hey, how you doing, Joe? Hey, good to see you. Hey, good to talk to you, whatever. Hey, if you ever hear anybody in Cali, I mean, you're in Cali. I mean, everyone sells weed. I mean, you're kidding? You throw a rock in a crowd and hit a guy who sells weed. So I said, hey, if you ever hear of anything good out there, just hit me up, let me know. Hurricane Katrina happened, I want to say it was 05. It was 05. So the year after that, 06, I'm still working, by the way. Okay, so I haven't quit my job yet. In 06, I'm about to quit my job, but I haven't yet. I go on a business trip to California to go look at one of our other sites. We're installing a new program, Statman it was called. And I had been trained on it, and I'm going to go to these other locations and train others on it. And it happened to be in Van Nuys, California. Hey, my buddy Joe lives in Long Beach, my old roommate. So now we're going to be face-to-face for the first time in many years. And he knows I'm coming now, and he says, well, let me get you hooked up with somebody. And he knows it was a Mexican he works with in the tire industry. He says, I got a guy for you. We'll meet him when you come down. So now I'm with another Mexican. I'm still Mexican brickies, man. This is like 06, end of 06 now. And then I no longer go to Houston because Cali's where it's at. And I'm now buying, after this, I buy 2 60-pound purchases from California from this Mexican. And then I get introduced to the Greeks and the Italians. and now I'm buying 100 pounds every time. And once I get involved with the Greeks and the Italians out of Montreal, I no longer deal with Houston. I no longer deal with the Mexican in California. I'm now dealing in high-end weed now. Now the brickies are gone. It's 2007 now, late 2007. And I'm going out every month for 100 to 120 pounds a clip. Trucking.
What are you getting? 07 was like what, hydro? And
yeah, so I'm getting all the Cali outdoor. And I'm getting some indoor. I'm also getting the OG Kush indoor, which is that's the ultimate. Okay, we all know what OG Kush indoor is. We all know. That's hard to get. You can't get weight. California is a land of weed, but it's tough to find 100 pounds of OG Kush. It's tough because it's indoor. It doesn't yield a lot. You got to know 10 or 20 people that grow it to pull off 100 pounds of that. So I would always try and get 10, 20, 30 pounds, but those were the hard ones to get because everybody wants that. But I was getting them like, $1,000 pounds in Cali of the good stuff. Back home here was still going for $3,000 to $4,000. Unbelievable. The market didn't. Connecticut's last in everything, man. We're the last ones to get cool fashion. We're the last ones to get cool weed. We're the last ones to get everything. So I was able to kill it until the weed legalization started coming in and blowing the market up a little bit. Yeah, so Cali, I get introduced to a Greek back here in Connecticut. Just one of these just weird meetings. Hey, a friend of mine from Canada's coming down. You guys ought to meet. I meet him. We hit it off. We're kind of a similar personality. He understands that I have transport locked down. My distribution is crazy, and my potential is off the charts. From what he sees, I'm not trying to brag. This is what he sees. He sees a guy with trucking, connects, and distribution. Like, what the fuck else is there? I have literally all of it. So he wants in on it, but he's willing to give me connects while I'm willing to give him transport. So we win-win ourselves to death on this one. He gives me everything, and I give him everything. It's a good partnership. I would get introduced to a Greek woman out in California who would just absolutely blow my mind as far as gangsterism. I'm going to use that word. This woman was the deal. She was every bit of gangster as any man you've ever heard of or seen. And she was beautiful, Hollywood Hills type of woman. I would dump Nico for her. Nico was my partner. I would dump him for her. And we would go on and make millions together, her and I. And that's how I met the Montreal families, the Angels, the I don't know what you want to call it, organized crime. The largest organized crime family that you've probably ever heard of. That's who they were. And I'm all of a sudden now catapulted into this trafficking of money, drugs from California to Connecticut, Connecticut to Montreal, from Montreal down. I'm shipping up, I'm bringing down. I start controlling all their money. I've become their bank. I'm putting so many of their workers out of business. And by workers, I mean they send down people from Canada to receive their truckloads of weed, and then they distribute to areas all over the eastern seaboard. And then weeks or days later, they go back and they collect the money for these things. And then they got to get the money back up north. Well, I had all this already. I'm already doing this. I got transport. I've got safe houses all over the place now at this point. I got like 3 safe houses. I got a condo in California. I got a condo in Montreal. I got 3 safe houses in Connecticut, plus the house I live in. So, I did just time jump a lot, but I'm getting to this is all starts from the Greeks and the Italians, right? This is where it all starts. And the smuggling routes that they use are really deep and intricate. Everybody owns certain sections of the border. Like when I say owns, the bikers got this. They got the casino area, right? They got the Cornwall, Messina. They got those things. The Greeks got these random places in the woods. The Italians got the trucking. They have a guy in Canada who's a me. They have a me up there. Him and I meet, and that's it. He's the me over there. He's got transport locked down over there. I've got warehousing and transport locked down here. And we just start shipping things across the country, the border rather, loaded with weed and money, back and forth, back and forth. Then I get involved with moving kilos. That's where that's my mistake. I could have done weed forever. I could have just kept doing that and just been killing it. But, you know, because of my childhood, I want to impress people. I want to be depended on. I want you to know that whatever you ask me to do, Kevin, whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do it the best. You're going to walk away from this happy that you gave me that project to do. That's what I do. That's what I need you to do. I need this from you, and I will get this from you because I'll do it. So I don't even know that I'm getting looked at by these Italians. I don't even know yet that the Greeks actually work for the Italians, and most of what I've been doing has been for the Italians and the bikers the whole time. But I'm just transport, dude. I'm a private contractor. I'm not asking who your mom is. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care.
You're just putting in the work,
Yeah.
not really looking at politics. You're just putting in the work. You're doing a great job, and then your great job is being recognized by higher-ups.
Yes. So I get a call one day. I'm getting called up to meet some people. And I know these are important people. I know that they're, how do I phrase this? I know they're like I don't like to use the word boss because I don't like to say I work for people. Like I'm an
Independent contractor.
I'm an independent contractor, man. I don't work for you, bro. You don't need to, I don't need you, right? But of course you do need people. I mean, you do. So okay, my bosses, okay, the people who were giving the instructions to move said freight. I just don't like to use the word boss, but I guess we can. So I know these people are above me. But to what level? I mean, I'm only transport, so there's no way I'm talking to the top guy. There's no way. The top guy doesn't call guys like me and say, I want to meet you in person. And then certainly top guys don't then meet with me, like me, and then start contacting me directly all the time. No, there's no way I'm meeting that guy. There's just no way. Guess what?
The top guy called you.
So I go up for the meeting. I get called up. Hey, somebody wants to meet you.
Is this of the Italian?
Yeah.
Okay, the Italian family.
I don't know this. I always got to say this because this is the truth, okay? I don't know who this man is. All I know is he's above me, and he's above my people. He's above the Greeks. That's all I know. The Greeks get their marching orders from him. I get my marching orders from the Greeks. So I'm getting called up because his customers down in the States love me. Now you're saying, well, for what? What, he wants to just pass you on the fucking back? Is this what kind of guy he is? No, his customers give him an ultimatum. They love me so much. They tell the big boss, you better only use Andy. I was using the fake name back then. You better only use Andy from now on, or we don't want to know about it. If you send anybody else, we don't want it. Now, I don't know this is happening, okay? I don't know. Look, I know my customers are happy, or I know the people I'm dealing with are happy with what I'm doing because I'm fucking professional.
You're over-delivering.
And that's what I do. That's what I do. I only do that. So I get called up and jump in a car. We go meet at this bar, beautiful bar, like way too nice to never have anybody in it. You know what I mean? And we have like a, I don't know, I want to say like a round table meeting, right? You got the biker guy over here. You got the Greek guy over here. You got the Italian guy over here. I got the trucker guy I'm telling you about. This is where I meet him. He's over here, and him and I are hitting it off right away because we're truckers. And, oh, you got that thing? Oh, you got that thing? Oh, I saw that the fuel tank you had. I love what you did with that. That's fucking awesome. So we had this meeting, and I'm thinking this is the meeting. Oh, this is the meeting. Okay, meeting of the minds. I get it. That's cool. So then they go, okay, let's go to the real meeting now. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So these guys weren't the real guys. Okay, so we're going to go to the other guys now. Whatever. We go to another side of town. We go to another restaurant. Now I'm sitting in a room, and there's two guys sitting in there. And I guess there's like 6 other guys that I'm not aware of that are in there as well watching this meeting. I'm not aware of this till later. walks in there, and there's the two guys over here. And I sit down with him, and the guy says, yeah, so we've been getting some calls, and just want to make sure that you're on the up and up with us. You know, like, you understand what's going on, right? And I'm like, yeah, I don't. Like, what do you mean you're getting calls? Like I'm running through my head. I'm like, I do everything right. So I'm confident. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't steal from these people. I don't fucking do shit, you know? He just wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing side deals. Because apparently, every single word I ever said to his customers gets back to him. So whoever comes to pick up weed for me, for example, and we have a little chit-chat, hey, what's up, Kevin? Hey, what's up, man? Hey, man, you get your weed California? Yeah, sometimes, you know, go to California sometimes. That conversation gets back up north. Hey, you know, he goes to California sometimes. He would tell my guy about it. So now my guy's like, are you trying to set up side deals? Because these are my guys. You don't do side deals. If you do a side deal, I'm in it. So I'm like, no, I'm not. This is small talk, man. Hey, what's up? And he goes, no, all right, listen, no more small talk. You say hi, you say bye. That's it. You say hi, and then you say bye. So from now on, so the meeting goes well. I mean, he loves what I'm doing, but he's just making sure. Also, let me remind you, I don't know who he is. I have no idea he's the guy. I have no idea I'm sitting in. There's no way I'd be sitting in front of that guy. I shouldn't have been. But what I don't know going on in the background is all his associates are getting murdered around him. His father being one of them. He gets murdered while I'm up there. Not like literally while I'm up there, but during the time I'm up there. This is 2010 now. I've jumped to 2010. His father gets killed. You can Google it all. I don't know that he's running the whole fucking show. I have no idea that he's that guy. He wasn't running the whole show. He was running the smuggling and laundering portion for the family. You know, that's how it works. Everybody has the thing that they do. Oh, you're in the construction biz. You're in the drug biz. You're in the fucking, you know, money laundering, you know, whatever. You know, they have like, it's organized. Hence the term, organized crime. So the meeting goes well, but I'm now getting all my orders from him. And he's basically asking me to move another product now. And that's when I get into the kilos. And that's was the beginning of the end.
So you're no longer dealing with Greek. You're now working right with Italian family.
Yeah. So the Greeks are still they're still in the picture.
But on another magnitude, like another level.
Yeah, they're not giving me orders anymore. This guy is now bypassed them and is going right to me. And when I say we're talking every day, I mean every day. We had blackberries back then, PGP protected blackberries. You know what these are. Mm-hmm. You couldn't at that time break them. They're broken now.
How much money have you made up to this point before the Coke days?
Yeah, oh man, millions. Oh, I mean,
what does your wife say?
No, I mean, really, I mean, and again, it's not in one shot. Like, you know, like I never had $1 million stacked in my fucking bedroom.
Yeah,
and like,
over
look at all
time.
the money I made. Mom, okay, so my wife.
Does she notice a change in your lifestyle?
Oh my God! When I first went to California, I went from what I like to joke around about is I used to dress Connecticut cool. There's a difference between Connecticut cool and L.A. cool, right? I came back from L.A. the first time, new haircut, sideburn, new clothes, jewelry. My wife was like, "The fuck," and I was like, "This is what we're doing now. I mean, this is what we're doing now. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Don't ask any questions.
This is what we're doing now." I mean, my wife wasn't unaware. I mean, I talked to my wife. I mean, we have a good relationship. So she knows the things I don't tell her are just things that'll hurt her. You know, I don't tell her about, you know, other women. I don't tell her about those things. I mean, who comes home and brags about that? Nobody. But all that stuff's going on. I mean, I'm now at the level where I'm so like...
bravado.
Yeah, I'm in that moment, and I'm just striking all the steps everybody struck before me, doing all the same stuff, the fucking too many houses, too many cars, too many women, too many employees, too much responsibility, taking on too much. And, you know, once you move the blow and you start moving, I never moved less than 50 kilos. And I did that 10 times. I've moved about 550 to 575 kilos over the course of 2 years for them, for the Italians.
And that's from 2010 to 2012.
Yeah. Never got caught. Took them from California to Connecticut, from Connecticut to Montreal. I packed them, smuggled them, spare tired them, put them in seats of your car. I put them in back seats like were speakers. I would take the whole interiors apart, find any kind of gap that I could fit a kilo in anywhere and fucking stuffing them in there. I was tricking people to drive over the border with me. I was loading their spare tires and not even telling them and just giving them like spa days up in Montreal. Like I had this brother and sister I knew that lived in upstate New York. I would buy them spa days for them, it's only like 100 miles away. They're pretty close to the border. And I was using their hunting cabin to store weed and blow, and I was renting it. It was a whole thing. They kind of knew a little bit. But I was using other people and smuggling and just didn't tell them. Just, meet me at the spot. Hey, can I get your tire? Yeah, no, just go check it out for a little while. Once you're up there, you know what I mean? You don't fucking give a shit,
Oh my God.
Yo, what's up with your spare situation?
Yeah,
you know what?
Spare.
Let me buy you a new one. Because I'm gonna fucking just cut this one with a knife. I ain't gonna fuck around,
Why is this dude always buying us new fucking spare tires?
Yeah, brand new.
Okay, so 2012, you're doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah, man. One of my drivers gets popped.
What state?
Ohio. Vermilion, Ohio, to be exact. You don't want to get stopped in Ohio. Ohio and Illinois are the two trafficking headquarters for the drug and addiction police. They're zero-tolerance states. They pull you over for having an out-of-state plate. So that's all you have to be doing wrong in there. So one of my drivers gets pulled over doing work for somebody behind my back. This is how it always works, dude, okay? Like, you didn't think he was going to be like, one of my loads that I planned was going to get busted, did you? No, of course not, because I'm fucking logistics. He's doing a deal for someone else, unbeknownst to me. I don't even know this is going on. And he gets hemmed up with 75 pounds and like 40 grand in cash. It goes on the internet. I see it. I know he gets busted. I could have stopped right there and said, whoa, one of my dudes just got popped. I need to fucking shut down ship. But man, there's just too much money. Too much money. I just thought I could deal with it. I was smart enough to work around it. I can create a workaround for this. I just don't talk to him anymore. He's done. He's not taking my lawyer that I'm offering him, which is a little bizarre. Because, you think we probably might have had these conversations. Like, I don't just hire a guy and say, hey, move drugs for me. We have conversations before we get into this. Hey, what if? Well, here's what you do. What if? I got this guy lined up. You don't say shit. You have the whole thing, right? Well, he talks. And he also works with the DEA for 6 months. Now, I'm not telling him things anymore, but he was a friend of mine. So I'm also not abandoning him like I should have. I should have outed him, cut him out instantly and never spoke to him again. But that's not who I am. While I'm not telling him what I'm still doing, I'm still talking to him, which means he's getting location pings, or I should say they are getting location pings off of his phone. They basically know what I'm doing, even though I'm not telling him. They see where I am. It's then they start following me eventually. And by they, I mean the federal government. They're staying in hotel rooms right next to me. They're eating in restaurants with me in the room. I don't even know. And I'm just living my life, balling like a fucking motherfucker, women, the whole thing, right? And I don't know, fucking booths next to me or, Then my second driver gets popped with 50 kilos right here in Danbury. Right here. This is what happened right here. Because they hit him in Danbury because the Connecticut feds wanted the bust to happen here. They knew he was trafficking from California all the way here. They let him go all the way across the country and waited for him to cross right here on 84, right here. And they popped him right here, right by the weigh scale. That's where they got him. And then what they did was they popped him the night before he delivered to me. So he gets popped, but they let him out instantly because they need him to make the delivery to me so that I can accept the delivery and therefore accept the responsibility. So it all crashes down in 2012 when I wake up one morning while I'm preparing people's spare tires for the kilos that are about to show up in my house. I know they're coming, and I'm about to ship them to Canada, and I'm about to get paid $250,000 for this job. It took me 12 days to do it. I'm making $250,000 every run. Every time. And that's not even counting the money I was getting paid to bring the money out. I'm just talking about kilos, man. I'm getting paid for everything. Storing money, counting money, transporting money, delivering money. We had a scam where we were taking people's money in Canada, charging them points to move it over the border, but never actually moving it over the border. We already had money here in the States from the weed. So you're in Canada, I'm charging you, hey, Kevin, you want me to buy you some kilos? Give me 200,000. You got to pay me like 10 grand to smuggle it. You know, I got to get out of the country, Kevin. You know this. Come on. You pay me this money, but I never ship it over the country. I never ship it over the border. I just charge you to ship it. But it never gets shipped because the money's already here from what I'm doing down here. I'm picking up all the cash, and then it's getting the weed cash is getting collected, going to California for kilos, getting transported and brought back. Does that make sense? So there were so many ways money was being made. But then just before the bust, I had actually found my own border crossing from the family that I just told you about, their brother and sister. I was renting their cottage. I got hunting rights from a farmer whose farm was on the border. And his property literally was on the border. There was a stop sign between his house and Montreal. Well, not Montreal, but Canada, Franklin County to be exact. Just before I got popped, I was actually border crossing myself now. I was sneaking in and out of the country so as not to go through the border, because you go through the border too many times, you get flagged. And I was flagged. I was going into that room, the special room, with no door handles and windows. I was going in that room every time I was crossing now. So towards the end, I never crossed with drugs. I couldn't. I was far too hot for that. But in the beginning, I did. I used to just hump it myself in my Chevy Equinox, 10, 12 kilos at a time, and do like 4 of those trips. That was crazy. Never got caught, though. But then after you make so many trips like that, you can't do it anymore. And my Canadian girlfriend, she was even flagged just for crossing with me. To this day, okay, we're in 2024 now. This is 12 years later. We're not together anymore, any of that thing. But every now and again, I'll get a text that says, just got fucked with at the border. Thanks. Yeah, love that stuff.
Subtle reminder.
Yeah. Thanks. Just spent 4 hours in a fucking quiet room. It's not you seeing Rich LaFerrier anymore. You know, I don't know.
You shithead.
So they crashed down hard.
So the Danbury, Connecticut, your driver gets popped, brings you the 50 pounds.
50 kilos.
50 kilos.
Which is actually like 125 pounds.
Okay, so 125 pounds of coke.
Yeah.
Drops it to you.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Then he drives off. Moments later,
feds come in.
Well, so he drives off. I go back in the house. It doesn't happen seconds later. I go back in the house. But they're already on everybody, right? When he delivers it to me, they're on him. They're not just, hey, go ahead and deliver and call me later. No, they're on him. You know that. They're following him. They're up the street. They know. They can't let that shit out of their sight. Okay, that's like a thing. Okay, they can't let a drug deal go down where the drugs leave their sight. That's like a fucking thing. So yeah, he delivers it. I don't even take it out of the Equinox. I just park it in the garage and I go back in the house. Like, I'm not dealing with that right now. I just woke up. I go back in the house. I'm in there maybe 30 minutes. Knock at the door. I look outside, and the road is just blocked with police cars and dogs and probably 20 bodies, if I'm counting right, 20. And I said my brother-in-law and mother were there because I was taking their spare tires to have someone else smuggle them. I would collect spare tires from people like who weren't even smuggling with me. Hey, Kevin, can I get your spare tire? Why? Don't fucking worry about it. Can I get your spare tire? Yeah, okay. So I would do that. They were just people who were providing me with a fucking spare tire. Now, they're also not foolish. I mean, they kind of knew I was doing something shady, but if they don't ask, I don't tell. So they were there when it happened. And I remember saying to my brother-in-law and mother, I'm like, it's over. You guys are witnessing the end. And, I would become a friend of the government for 12 years.
You get busted.
Yeah.
They bring you in.
Oh, man.
They Obviously, 8-hour interrogation.
Yeah.
They proposed to you, do you want to work with us?
First of all,
what were you facing? Give us the details.
So minimum 10. Okay, minimum 10 years. Could be as much as 15. But the law was minimum 10. Judge has to give me 10. But you know how that works. It's 10, but they could also, I would have gotten 10, okay? So I can't rat on my people in Canada. Again, truth needs to be spoken. Even at the moment I'm busted, I don't know the man I'm working for. I don't know who he really is. This is so true. I know that they're connected, right? I mean, I saw everything. I went to parties up there that they throw. These are parties. Like, these are the parties that these kind of people throw, right? And they, I know I can't rat on them because I'll get killed. So I explained to them everything that I did. I gave them every trip, every itinerary, everything I did, but wouldn't give up my people. The only option that I had was to make them believe that I was so intelligent about the things I had done and my memory was so good that I could provide them with info that they could never get. What I used to do when I would meet with them, and this is all documented stuff, and there's going to be there's agents that have actually contributed to my book. One is retiring literally at the end of this month, so I can't publish anything until he retires, but he collaborates all the things I'm about to tell you. I started off with them by explaining that I am a numbers savant, which is just true. As a kid, I played numbers games with my grandmother, memory games, and math just is simple to me. I started, you know how you got a code to get in here? Okay, federal government has them to get into every room, right? I would watch them hit the keypad and memorize the numbers. So the next time we'd be standing at the door, I'd be like, 5729. And they'd be like, the fuck? And I would do this. A lot of these guys would come into the special room that was, I called it my room. It just became my room. I had my own room in the federal government.
You were there so much.
It was my room. I had all my stuff there. They would always fucking lock themselves in because the door locks from the inside too. You got to put a code to get out. You got to put a code to get in. It's just how, So I would do all these little brain games with them just to kind of, man, I'm just hoping at this point, how do I stay out of prison but not give up my people? How do you do that? So I just did it by saying, look, I have value to you. You have cases going on? Inject me into them. Inject me. I have transport. I have the lingo. I have the business. I know. I'm so freshly busted that I'm not even out of the game yet. Nobody even knows, except for the 3 houses that were around me when I got busted. Other than those 3 people and the school bus driver where my kid goes to school went by as I was getting cuffed out. That was awesome. Other than those people seeing it, nobody knew. My people didn't know. Now, the government took $1.4 million from me from my house today and the kilos. Well, I got to get those kilos to Canada. They're asking for them. Hey, Rich, time out. Hey, Andy, where's the kilos? Yeah, I'm running in a little fucking delay right now. My people's chickened out, got scared. I got to find some new people. Oh, okay, cool, no problem, whatever. So I was able to buy myself some time. And the government released me the very next day, by the way. They put me in jail that night, in a local jail, released me the next day, and we talked again for another, a whole day. They were begging me to just give my people up, begging me to do it. And I said, look, man, I really don't even know their real names. We don't operate that way. I said, hey, by the way, they don't even know my name. They don't even. And they're like, yeah, we know you use Andy Peterson. We know. I was like, oh, okay. So they already knew all that too. But I didn't know the people I actually worked for. Are you familiar with Eric Canori? Have you heard his stuff?
No.
Okay. I replaced him in the game. That's what got me on the Johnny show. I saw that interview and I said, what? I replaced him. He got busted. I heard his whole story. My hair stood up. When he told me, when he told his story, I'm listening. So to me, he's telling it right to me because I'm the only one that really knows what he's saying. I work for those people. I was like, holy shit. Fucking small world. I was the guy. I had heard about the warehouse in Albany that got busted. That was his. So he's already got a book and a whole tour he's doing. He's been on Johnny's show, Ian's show. I'm using that name because it makes sense. But yeah, so I was I guess you use the word informant for 12 years. That's a long time. That's a long time. People don't do that for 12 years. I'm the only one who's ever done that in this group of the DEA. And again, it's tough to sit here and brag about what I did for the government because I'm not proud of that stuff. I'm proud of what I accomplished, and I wouldn't trade it in. I probably wouldn't do it differently either, based on the decision-making process that I go through as a child all the way till this present day. Like, those decisions I was always going to make. I was always going to make those decisions that I made. Like, you know, you don't have as much free will as you think you have. You think you walk around all day and you choose a strawberry donut over a chocolate one and you're making decisions, man. I'm in control. You're not. You didn't decide that you wanted that chocolate donut today. Everything that you've ever witnessed in your entire life came together at that moment to make that decision that you wanted that chocolate donut that day. You're the kind of guy at that moment that wants a chocolate donut. You aren't really making decisions. You're not walking around. That's how I view it. I don't think I could have done anything differently. I was always going to do this. That's the angle I'm taking in the book. I was always going to do this. The exact way it went, and it was never going to go another way. People have paths and forks in their road, right? I listened to your story. You've had a few. You should have gone left a few times, but you didn't. But in all reality, you were never going to go left. That choice to you was only there in theory. I was never going to go left. I looked at that and always knew. So I don't even believe that I walked through life deciding, the interesting idea, if I go that route of I didn't have any free will, I also can't take credit for anything I did either. So if I win the argument that I didn't choose my own destiny, to sit here and brag about money and girls, I didn't even do that. I didn't even do that.
I like how you talked about just now. It sounded like, not going left, right? And it was that moment and less of a decision that brought you to where you are, right? And I'll bring this full circle in 1 second. Don't take offense to this, but I feel like it's almost like an excuse, but then you covered the other side from an ego stamp. You took ego right out of it because of the money, the girls, the et cetera, et cetera. So you now brought yourself here back down to reality.
Yeah.
And what I think is very fascinating about your story, well, congratulations for not having to work for the feds anymore. This is fairly recently.
Yeah.
Hence,
I only got out of it a year and 2 months ago.
A year and 2 months ago?
Yeah.
So 14 months ago.
Yeah, in May of last year.
Wow.
So what was May of 2023? How many months ago was that?
Call it
whatever it was. It was May 18th
ago.
to be exact, and I still have the message that I got from a random guy in the federal government. By the way, that's how I found out. I got a phone call. And, of course, I don't answer phones, so I usually swipe everybody, and I blocked them, actually. And then something in my brain, Kevin, said, play that message. Let's just. I mean, who was it? And believe me, dude, I get a lot of spam. I've had my same number for like 15 years. I played it, and I couldn't believe my ears.
You are off the hook.
A guy in D.C. who I've never met. This is blah, blah, blah from da-da-da from the fucking federal agency of blah, 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 and just want to let you know your case has been dismissed, and this must be a great weight off your shoulders, and just want to let you know that. If you have any questions, go ahead and call. So, of course, I call him right back. I'm like, hi, who the fuck are you? Is this real? Like, seriously. No, I mean, for real. Like, you don't leave messages like that with a case that's been pending for 12 years with 15 years hanging over you. But, that is how it happens. So I said to the guy, hey, man, is it too much to ask for some fucking paperwork? Never got any.
Mm.
Never heard from him again.
They
Oh,
just
yeah,
stopped
let me look
calling
into
you.
that. I'll get back to you.
They just stopped calling you.
Done. Stop calling me.
So
I love that you noticed that, Kevin, about the way I told that story, because that's what I'm going with. So the reason I mentioned the free will thing is that the angle. I want you to question, is this fucking guy seriously? Are you telling me you didn't choose to put that kilo in your trunk? Are you telling me? Are you trying to tell me? And yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
but you brought it back to reality, and the credibility for me was when then you took ego out of it. It wasn't like you were just making an excuse for yourself.
No.
You were saying reality, and then you were also covering reality from a glitz and glamour standpoint and a fascinating lifestyle, which, like, a few dots I want to connect. I think it's wild, and this is for the listener. You had a lot of people. But with the friends, you kept moving schools and you had to make new friends. And those relationships were short term and you were used to short term relationships. Your grandma moved. The relationship with grandma went from full time, her watching over you and being almost like your legal mother.
Literally.
And then she started to love you from a distance. Your mom, not really dependable. And the way you operate in business and everything that you do work-wise, you over-deliver. Do you think you were almost somewhat of a people pleaser for an acceptance standpoint?
Oh, man. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I always want to please. You know, when the big boss asked me to switch to coke, from weed, I saw this as an opportunity to show him, hey, man, I've already been blowing your door. Like, I could have said no to that, but I want to keep pleasing. Like, once I think you like me, I don't ever want it to end. And that's because of what I grew up with, because it always ended for me, but I don't want it to end, right? Because that's that permanent love that you don't get from anybody but your family. Other than my grandmother, if I didn't get that from them, I was looking for it from everybody else. And so my boss at work, even down to my tow truck days, like, I wanted to be the best tow truck guy he had. I wasn't just happy him saying, hey, good job today. I wanted him to say, Jesus Christ, dude, you're employee of the month. Like, nothing was like, you had to like me. So as a result of that, I was really successful, because anybody who I got into business with, I either made them a shit ton of money or made them a shit ton of money.
But it's also, too, it's validating for you, because it's like, I'm a successful businessman. But that it becomes detrimental to yourself when you say yes to the coke and then you get busted by the feds, and then now you either have to go to prison for 10 years minimum or work with them. And then so what have you done? And I'm asking this because I have had the same feelings as you. I mean, my trauma is from something out. Like, I had a pretty good upbringing, but what have you done to build your self-worth to not have to seek that validation in the last, I'm assuming 12 years ago is when your
that's when
success story started to happen for yourself, and you essentially rose above being arrested by the feds.
It was a really hard adjustment. Okay. The end scene from Goodfellas, when he's talking about, I went from having this life and now I can't even get a good bowl of pasta. Okay. That's it. It was hard for me to adjust. If you can imagine, there might have been an availability of cash for me for X amount of years after the bust, maybe. So I was still able to continue my lifestyle a little bit under the radar, of course. I was busted and was broke, everybody. We all know they left me with $40. But maybe if there was a possibility. So, in other words, it took me a long time the life didn't end for me the day I got busted. In fact, because I was now injecting myself they were injecting me into other cases, my lifestyle kept going on. Like, I kept being a drug dealer, outlaw, but now I'm doing it for the government. So the adjustment period was awful. and I hated myself. I went into a serious depression. Like, I was everything I hated about people. Like, so I don't know if there's a necessary moment where I rose above that. It still is bothersome to me. It's been years now, and for me, it's about family now. So that's the only thing that keeps me level. You know, my son's 20. He's an amazing human being. My wife is so patient. Oh, my God.
I would say so. She's been with you this entire time.
She's like my grandmother passed the torch to my wife. Okay, my wife became my grandmother, if that makes sense to you, in a positive form. My wife is the one that carried me on after she. So during all these times, going home was amazing because that leveled me out. And my son was the best thing in my life. So that's how I got above it, was them. And then now just to run my trucking company, legit. My son works for me part-time. That's how I rose above it.
Well, I think also, too, the amazing thing is people can, seek professional help if, to help build their self-worth and really shift perspective, because perspective is distorted significantly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think with you, what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, but you hit such a bottom. And you said you went through depression after you were busted by the feds. And maybe you hit a rock bottom so hard that you had no choice but to practice humility and get humble.
I lost.
Exactly.
And I had to lose.
And to appreciate what you do have in your wife, in your family.
Yes.
In the business that's not going to make you $5 million in a year, but it's a lucrative good business.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm thrilled to have this opportunity, right? I'm thrilled that I still am able to do this. And by this, I mean being in the transportation world. Believe me, the courts weren't loving that I stayed in the trucking game. And I used to ask them how, hey, I need to be, hey, can you hide that felony so I can get into ports now? They don't want to hear that shit. Hey, man, maybe you should get into another business, they'd always tell me. But this is what I know, man. I'm a transporter. So they never believed I cleaned up, even though I did. They never believed it.
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. Man. Your story is amazing.
Thank you for listening, man.
Yeah, of course. Listen, the clear message is, don't get wrapped up with selling fucking drugs, man. It's not as good as it looks.
If I can just help one kid.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.